what this content is going to show you guys how to do is it's actually going to show you guys how to start protecting your intellectual property before you even write a single line of code. If you guys have a logo idea for your mobile app, you can start the application process even before you have something to submit to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. We're going to do it from the perspective of a company. We're going to show you guys how you guys can do it for your company. The first step is to start off by going to tsdr.uspto.gov. And once I'm here, what you want to do is you want to click on File Online, and then you want to click on Initial Application Forms. And then you guys want to click on Start Your Application in TEAS. Now, one thing I want to point out, I am already logged into uspto.gov. So that's why it takes me directly to this page. If you were not logged in, then what it would do is it would actually prompt you to log into uspto.gov. All right, so we're going to do the plus today. Again, I've spent a lot of time doing content on both. It's just some people really want to say the extra $50. I get it. This is how you guys can do it if you guys really want to save $50. Just click TEAS Plus instead of the TEAS Standard. Now, again, what I want to stress is if you can afford the extra $50, go for it. It's well worth it because you have full flexibility and latitude to put in your own description of goods and services. The TEAS Plus, however, is going to limit you in terms of what you're able to put into the description of goods and services. I'm going to do it from the perspective of the company. So I'm going to do it from the perspective as if it were my LLC, my limited liability company. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click continue. Now I'm going to input the trademark owner information. The trademark owner is the entity or individual that's responsible for the nature and quality of the goods. So in this case, it's going to be my company. So I'm going to go ahead and input my company in the owner of the mark section, and then I'm going to select the entity type. So I'm going to select limited liability company. It's going to prompt me to now input where the LLC was registered. So when I scroll down, it's going to give me an option, but I'm going to go ahead and select California. Mailing address, I'm going to go ahead and put our co-working space. And again, you guys are going to get mail to here, so just keep that in mind. If you guys are the applicant, eventually you're going to hopefully get a registration certificate. All other correspondence is going to be by email, fortunately. So they make that easy. Phone number is not required to avoid spam. Makes complete sense to me. If you guys do not want to input your phone number, I'm going to go ahead and put in our email. And again, the website address is not required, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in anyways. Now I'm going to click continue. It's going to give me a warning. It's going to say, hey, you didn't input your phone number. Again, not required. So the trademark office is going to have my email address. So if they need to get a hold of me, they're going to be able to through the email. I'm going to go ahead and click continue. And now it's going to prompt me to input the actual mark. What we were doing in the past, so the last two that we did for the company, we did standard character marks. Now we're going to switch to special form marks. So I'm going to click special form, and it's going to bring up another form. So let me show you the cool mark that Victoria came up with. This is the Wheelbound app, and this is the Wheelbound app logo. And quite possibly it might be the icon, depending on how design goes. We're going to go ahead and proceed with filing up an intent to use trademark application on this logo here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it. Now, the one big thing that I want to remind everybody is there are pixel requirements for logos. And what you guys are going to notice here is that I have the minimum bounds and the maximum bounds. No one dimension can be less than 250 pixels, and no one dimension can be greater than 944 pixels. Again, I also recommend that you submit grayscale black and white images, and JPEG or PDFs are required. So JPEG or PDFs. Now, one thing I want to point out, if color really is truly something that makes you guys distinctive, is that if that's really a source identifying part of your mark, then you might want to consider filing an application on the color as well. It is possible to file a trademark on color. So I'm going to go ahead and click, I'm going to attach this file. Now you have to click attach, otherwise it won't actually be attached to the application. So it's not good enough to just choose it. You actually have to click attach. And you know that it's attached successfully because you're eventually going to see the mark. You're going to see a little thumbnail of the mark. So that's how we know we successfully entered it in here. Now, they're going to ask you to input the literal element. So we're going to go ahead and put in basically literal element. What they mean by this is the text in the logo. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and type in the word mark of the logo. So wheel bound. And then I'm going to go ahead and click that I'm not claiming color as a feature of the mark. Now, again, if you guys actually have a source identifying color of your mark that you think is important to protect, then obviously you're going to want to consider filing a color trademark. And you might even consider filing both a color application and a grayscale application. Now, this is where we actually have to input what the mark consists of. So this is a description of the mark. So I'm going to go ahead and say that it is the words wheel bound about enclosed within a visual design of a wheel. Uncap that. Enclosed within a visual design of a wheel. There we go. And again, they're going to add the period for us automatically, so don't input it. Otherwise, you're going to have two periods in your description. Now, really simple. So you're going to upload your image again, input the literal elements, check the box claiming that you're not claiming color as a feature, and then you're going to input the description of the logo. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and click continue. And now this is the part where we actually input the goods and services. So again, I want to remind you guys, you are limited to the TEAS plus descriptions of goods and services. So you cannot enter free-form text like you can with this TEAS standard application. So that's one of the drawbacks with doing TEAS plus. That's why I highly encourage all of you to file TEAS standard and pay the extra $50. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click add goods and services. Now, once I do that, it's going to take me to a form. Now, this is kind of confusing because it doesn't really give you all that much, but basically once you start searching for stuff, that's when you get all the useful information. So I'm going to go ahead and click mobile, type in mobile application and click go. Now, once I do that, it's going to present me with a lot of cool options. So downloadable applications, mobile applications for booking taxis, educational mobile applications, anyways, all these options. Now, the ones that I encourage you to look for are the ones that have curly braces with bold text. Now, why do I say that? Well, I say that because the options that have curly braces with bold text actually let you guys input your own text in place of that. So again, really useful tool. This is the one that I've been using right here. Downloadable computer application software for mobile phones, namely software for, and then saying like what the app does. Again, one thing you're going to notice, these are going to be under class 9 because they're downloadable software. Here we go. Let's do this one today. Downloadable mobile applications for. So super broad, super broad. So you're going to check the box. And again, I know just by reading this that I'm going to be able to input whatever I want after 4. And then just you click insert checked entries. Once you do that, it's going to bring this box up here and you're going to actually be able to fill it in. So Tori, why don't you come back on and help us out?
How about a music composing app?
For music composition? Does that work?
Sure, yeah.
Very cool. Okay, once I click insert checked entries, now it adds it to my application. Now, one thing you're going to note, we have to now indicate in a filing basis, but again, here's our nice downloadable mobile applications for music composition. So again, anything after the curly braces, we got to input ourselves. So now I'm going to go ahead and click section 1B because we haven't yet released the mobile app to the App Store. Check the box. Now, one thing I want to point out is this information, you should actually read it if you guys are doing this. You should read everything. I'll just quickly paraphrase it for you, but it is important that you guys understand what you're doing. So you're filing an intent to use trademark application, which means that you have a bona fide intent to use the mark in commerce, and that you're eventually going to have to submit what's called an allegation of use. Also, some people call it a statement of use, but it's proof that you're actually using the mark in commerce. So the thing to understand is that this intent to use trademark application that we're preparing right now is never going to turn into a US trademark unless you file a statement of use, and which includes proof of use. Now that proof of use, what they call that in the trademark office is a specimen. So you're going to eventually have to submit a specimen and a fee. It's $100 per class at the moment. We have one class of goods, class 9. So eventually, in addition to the $225, you're going to have to pay another $100 and submit a specimen. That could be a screenshot showing your logo on the mobile app store where you actually download the application. Again, this is a section 1B application, and I'm going to go ahead and click assign filing basis. Now, once we get to here, what we'll notice is that this is now filled in, so it has an assigned filing basis. And again, it's for class 9, and the goods and services are downloadable mobile applications for music composition. So I'm going to go ahead and click continue. Now, this is the part where we actually input our docket number. So I'm going to go ahead and input docket number. I'm going to call it 3. I used 1 and 2, I believe, for the word marks. And again, it's a really good idea to include any team members in the correspondence. If you have like partners or teammates or assistants or just anyone that's involved in the trademark process, it's a good idea to keep them in the loop. That way nothing slips through the cracks. Whenever you get an office action from the trademark office, if you get one, you have 6 months to respond. And if you don't respond within 6 months, your application will go abandoned. So again, it's a really, really smart idea to include other email addresses, just so that nothing slips through the cracks. Okay. The last thing I'll say about docket and reference numbers, if you have a lot of docket, a lot of trademarks that are pending, or that if you plan to file a lot of trademarks, really, really good tool is to use docket numbers, because they're basically short codes for identifying the application. Once I click continue, it's going to take me to the validation page. This is where I actually sign saying that I understand that I'm filing a Section 1B application. This actually trips up a lot of people because the first thing they see is based on use in commerce, and 1A, this is the A. So this confuses a lot of people. Remember, when you check this box, there's also an or here. This is the part that's applying to us right now. So we're filing an intent to use trademark application under Section 1B. So what this means is that we have a bona fide intention to use the mark in commerce, and we believe we're entitled to use it, and all the facts in this application are accurate. Now, the bottom 3 checkboxes essentially expand upon these items here. So that the second checkbox, and again, I'm paraphrasing. Again, I encourage you guys, if you guys are gonna do this on your own, make sure you read everything and make sure you understand it. So there's an or here, 1B is gonna apply to you. And then this checkbox is saying that basically, as far as you know, no one else is using the mark already, right? Because trademark rights are based on our common law rights, which establish a trademark right based on actual use in commerce. So if someone else is using the mark before you, then you couldn't in good faith check this box, right? Assuming they were in the same class channel of goods and services, right? One thing I want to remind you guys about is that trademark rights are based around protecting the consumer. So trademarks serve as source identifiers. So if there's 2 marks that are in the same channel of goods and services and are very similar, then that could confuse the consumer. So that is the purpose behind trademark rights. This third checkbox is basically saying that there's factual support for everything that I say in this application. And the fourth checkbox is saying that I'm signing under penalty of perjury. So willfully false statements can be fined or can subject me to fine or imprisonment. These are the 4 checkboxes. And again, you have to sign the application to submit it. And if they make it really easy to sign it, all you do is just put your name within slashes. They auto-populate the date for you. For name, I've been doing this last name, comma, first name, initial format. I haven't gotten the signature section rejected for not doing that, but something to keep in mind. I'm going to go ahead and call myself president. If you have a title like managing member, that's a really popular title for LLCs, or some states call them governors. There's all kinds of different titles for signatory, but just make sure you have your signatory name, title there. Again, phone number is not required, so I'm going to go ahead and click validate. And again, it loves to warn me whenever I don't input phone numbers, but trying my best to keep my phone number off of spam lists. So I'm sure you guys are too. So now this is the last page before we submit. So this is the section where we actually can review to make sure that the application is completely 100% correct. So I'm going to go ahead and click input, and this is going to give me a summary of the entire application. So again, this is the mark, special form. Again, the literal element is wheel bound. This is a description of the mark. So it consists of the word wheel bound, closed within a visual design of a wheel. Again, I didn't go up to the very edge this time, but I usually encourage you guys to do 944, the largest. That way it shows up nice and clear on the register. Again, this is the owner of the mark. It's my company. In this hypothetical, we're going to release this app in the future. This is the email. This is required, of course, because they have to have a way of getting a hold of you and corresponding with you. This is the limited liability company. And this is the part that Victoria was so helpful on with providing us with the description of what the app is going to do. So again, class 9, this covers downloadable software. And again, 1B, meaning that we intend to use the mark in the future, but we're not presently using the mark to sell our goods or services. So again, this is the docket number, the name of correspondence, and my email and Victoria's email. So again, Kyle, I encourage you guys to include your teammates, and 225 because it's a TEAS plus. We're only doing 1 class of goods. Obviously, if you guys were doing 2 classes of goods, then it would be 450, right? So the price 225 per class. This is my signature. This is really make it really easy. You can do a digital signature, and then the application looks good to me. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed with filing. Now, one thing you'll notice is you can actually see the mark. If you click mark, it shows you a nice big image of the mark. I'm going to go ahead and click back. I want to just remind you guys of 3 things. So the first is that if there was any mistake in the application, you can go back to modify. And it's cool because the TEAS system will save your application. So So you don't have to worry about re-entering anything, okay? All this is gonna remain here. You can actually go back to the very beginning and all the information will be saved as you go forward. So you don't have to worry about losing any information. So you can go back and make changes. If you wanna add a comma, add a period, like so if something's missing, it's really, really easy to do that. So that's the first thing. The second thing I wanna remind you guys of is you can always save the form. If you click Save Form, it'll save a .obj file, and you can use that .obj file to file in the future. So you can upload that .obj file, and it will essentially almost like restore your whole session. So you don't have to like go in and input every single bit of information all over again. So useful tool. If, for example, I'm not 100% on filing today, I could save it, talk to Victoria about it offline, and then come back tomorrow, upload it, and it'll be a breeze to file because all the information is already uploaded. Last thing I want to point out is that they provide 3 really, really, really important bits of information. This notice is actually really important. The first notice is saying that there's no refund. So once you submit the application, you cannot change the mark itself, okay? You can change other things like the description of goods. You theoretically can't broaden the description of goods and services, but you can correct most things. The one thing you cannot correct though is the actual mark itself. So if I file this application today, then talk to Victoria about it, and she's like, you know what, I don't like the circle, or like, why didn't you draw spokes in there, Amir? Or like, where, you know, if for some reason the mark isn't 100% what we wanted to file, we could not fix that. You'd have to file a whole new application. So it'd be a whole nother $225. Just keep that in mind. And again, there's no, you can't get a refund. So you lost your money and you have to refile. All right. The second thing is that there's no right to confidentiality. So as I've said, everything that you file in this application is going to become public as soon as you hit submit and pay. The third thing is that because everything is public, there's companies out there, unfortunately, that mine new applicants and then send them junk mail to try to scam them out of payments that they don't actually have to make. So I highly encourage you to go to this particular page and just check it out, because they have a lot of, they're called misleading notices, but they have a lot of samples. And again, these are just scams. They look very real, but they're basically just trying to scam you out of money that you do not have to pay. So they look very legitimate, but they're not. So just keep that in mind. And again, if you guys are unsure, you can always go to this page and look up the name of the sender, and more than likely they're going to be on this list, because the Trademark Office has done a really, really good job of keeping track of all these different companies out there. All right, so once I check the box, I can now submit. So these are the 3 statements that I'm understanding. So I'm going to go ahead and check the box. I'm going to go ahead and click submit. So once I click pay submit, it's going to take me to a payment page where it's going to allow me to input my credit card information to pay the $225. Once I pay the $225, my application will have been filed. Just so you guys understand, once I click pay, it's going to take me to another page. It's going to let me download the application, and it's going to provide me with a serial number. That serial number is going to be attached to the application throughout the entire process, and even after the mark is registered on the principal register. So just keep that in mind. That serial number is really useful because you can at any time go to tsdr.uspto.gov and check up on the status of your trademark application. So really useful tool, guys. The last thing I wanted to say was that you're also going to get an email. So everyone is going to, on that correspondence chain, is going to get an email with the application. And some people call that the filing receipt because it has the filing date and the serial number tied to the application. That's how you guys can go about filing a trademark application for your logo on your mobile app before you release. So again, this is a Section 1B application, how you do a TEAS Plus application. So you save $50. But you're limited to the canned entries provided by the TEAS Plus system. So just keep that in mind. Thank you so much.